All right, and for our final team here, four aces.
Good afternoon. My name is Emma.
My name is Umar.
My name is Killian. And my name is Michael.
And we are the Four Aces. And today we are going to talk to you about reintroducing a taste of France. Today we are going to give you a historical, economic, and cultural background of Quebec City, along with a solution and accompanying analysis of Paris Baguette, along with the core issues of this expansion, and we have appendix of financial information if there are any further questions. Our solution for Paris Baguette is to enter the Canadian baked goods and bread market through Quebec City by establishing distribution centers and partnering with restaurants and grocery stores to capitalize on the French heritage. And to discuss the background of Paris Baguette in Quebec, I'm going to pass it to Umar.
So Paris Baguette was established in 1945 in Korea as a bakery serving luxury quality goods. They were focused as a French-themed and a health-oriented brand in 1986 to appeal to modern consumer preferences. Paris Baguette takes their health-oriented theme very seriously because they like to know each detail that goes into each of their products. They also recently won France's most prestigious baguette competition, the Coupe du Monde de Boulangerie, and they have shown a lot of success in international markets such as China, United States, and Vietnam. So the question may be, why not expand to Europe? As prompted to us to stay within the EU, we decided to expand outside, and the reasons because of that are due to patriotism is on the rise across Europe due to dilution of national identity, according to the BBC. Distinct European cuisine is tied to national identity with established daily dietary practices, high barriers to entry resulting from established competitors, and cultural similarity exists in previous French colonies to build off current success. And a quick economic analysis about Canada is that net household wealth and private consumption is growing as Canada undergoes an expansion stage. The current unemployment is at 6.8%, which is a 40-year historical low in the Canada's expansion. This 6.8% is very important because it means that consumers have jobs and their household savings are increasing, which will lead to more private consumption. Also, business investment is expected to ease tightening capacity constraints originally from federal regulation. Canada has this capacity regulation, which means that businesses do not have the autonomy to get as much a supply as they would, as much as they want from companies. But with this loosening of this regulation, it will create more jobs in the market, leading to a lower unemployment, and which leads back to the higher household savings, which leads to consumption. And Canada's bread and bakery products manufactured total 7.2 billion, growing with a 5% positive change since 2015. Over here you have a real GDP graph based 2007 base prices in billions. If you look at the majority of the GDP is under private consumption. This is at 58%. This is a good indicator to say to bringing a luxury good into Canada, because consumers do seem to be progressively consuming many goods. And here we have a percentage change of inflation and disposable income. On top we have in orange the disposable income, and then we have the CPI in red and GDP deflator in blue. If you notice, disposable income is increasing at a higher rate than the inflation, which means that consumers will not be affected by inflated prices. And a quick historical influence on Quebec is several de Chaplin French colonists funded Quebec City in 1608, as stated by the Economist. 77% of the population identify with French culture, and 95% speak French fluently. This is a very important point because we want to bring a taste of France into Quebec. And Quebec and French officials still hold economic and administrative discussions. I will hand it over to Michael for solution implementations.
Thank you, Mark. So, upon entering a new market, Paris Baguette, they try and focus on three core business ideas. These include positioning themselves as a upscale premium brand, localizing their menu to fit the preferences of their target market, and differentiating themselves from competition, primarily relying on quality, innovation, and providing a sophisticated buying experience. So we advise Paris Baguette, in order to establish this upscale image, to differentiate themselves primarily using their superior quality. So it's growing sentiment in Canada that there's a lack of access to quality baked goods and baguettes in supermarkets. We look to meet this demand by distributing our product, Paris Baguette's products, through these supermarkets. Additionally, since winning the bread competition in Paris, Paris Baguette has gained a great amount of publicity as one of the world's premier baguette and bread makers. We look at leveraging this to partner with high-end French restaurants and to take advantage of the French heritage in the Quebec area. Our plan in Quebec is to establish a production facility and then distribute to grocery stores and restaurants. This is a similar approach to what Paris Baguette took in Korea. And in Korea, this allowed Paris Baguette to deliver with great efficiency to their various store locations. In Korea, they were able to deliver 2 to 3 times a day, ensuring that there's constantly availability of fresh baked bread goods. Finally, Paris Baguette has been very successful in previous markets, establishing themselves as a health-conscious brand, considering that currently over 29% of Canadian adults are struggling with obesity. We would advise Paris Baguette to take this strategy into the new market. So in order to localize the menu, Paris Baguette is going to need to spend time both researching the culinary preferences and just general food habits of the Quebec area. We recommend that Paris Baguette employs a similar strategy as to what they did in Paris. This involves sending Paris Baguette chefs to the area prior to opening operation, along with hiring local culinary professionals to develop a localized menu that fits the preferences of the target market. We suspect, in past market entrances, this has taken roughly a year, and we suspect it to take a similar amount of time in Quebec. We also advise Paris Baguette to, upon entering into the market, to use a more locally cuisine-centered and French-influence-centered menu to ease the acceptance into the market. And in order to differentiate themselves, we advise Paris Baguette to rely heavily on their technology and delivery capabilities. As previously mentioned, having a production facility and then delivering to various restaurants and grocery stores will allow Paris Baguette to will allow them great flexibility in their distribution process to always keep a constant flow of fresh product going to these locations. This delivery flexibility will allow Paris Baguette to kind of tailor their delivery schedules to meet the specific the fluctuations in demand at these various locations. So this means delivering to restaurants more so when they're experiencing high traffic, less so when there's not as much, to meet these large demands. Once a repeat customer base is established, we advise Paris Baguette to expand their menu beyond just the local and French-inspired options into including some of their more traditional Korean heritage dishes and other exotic options. This has been very successful in previous markets. And finally, Paris Baguette is going to use the new distribution chain of going through supermarkets and grocery stores to reach this unmet demand. And I'm going to hand things over to Emma to explain this process.
We recommend that Paris Baguette opens up stores within stores. This is a win-win for both businesses as it encourages impulse shopping. When you walk into a grocery store and you smell fresh baked bread, chances are you're going to buy it. This is also great because it allows Paris Baguette to have low overhead without having to build buildings or buy property. And they'll have high traffic location with the supermarket traffic and usually supermarkets being placed in high dense areas. It also enhances the experience for the consumer. In order for brick and mortar stores to compete with online retailers, they have to enhance that experience. Success with this model has happened with Starbucks being placed in Targets, Subway's being placed in Walmart, and Sephora's partnership with JCPenney's. We did a SWOT analysis of this opportunity and discovered that the strengths are Paris Baguette already being an established brand and having high quality products, which is definitely a need in Quebec City right now. We also have localized products which allow the Canadians to enjoy the products that they grew up loving, such as butter tarts. Also, we plan to copy and paste as much of Paris Baguette's already efficient production model, and over time bakeries have very high margins. A couple weaknesses with this are the initial high startup costs, the cost to research and perfect the Canadian cuisine recipes, build the buildings, and market our product. Also, just having headquarters of being in Korea will just take a little bit of time to ensure that our stores are in compliance with their values. A couple opportunities with this expansion are definitely to capitalize on the French culture and heritage in Quebec, and as Umar stated earlier, Canadian bread and bakery sales are increasing about 5% a year, so this is a great time to enter the market. Also, there's definitely a scarcity of luxury baguettes within Quebec supermarkets, so there's a need that we are fulfilling. As with any expansion, there are a couple threats, mainly being the established competition of Tim Hortons and Mason Cousins. Tim Hortons is a well-known donut and pastry shop, and Mason Cousins does pre-packaged baguettes. We differentiate ourselves by being fresh. And lastly, with any country, you have to be in compliance with their regulations and laws. And now I'm going to pass it over to Killian for the core issues of this expansion.
Thank you, Emma. So today we're really going to be focusing on 3 issues that we come across in our solutions implementation. And those are the unfamiliarity with our product and our brand in the new market, as well as the established competition in the area, and then finally the current grocery store trends. So to address unfamiliarity, we suggest the product launch at Quebec City Winter Festival, Winter 2019, where there will be thousands of locals in attendance. This is a great opportunity to emphasize our convenience and quality to consumers to ensure they understand our brand association and area in the Quebec City. Our primary competition we identify as being Tim Hortons. They are a multinational fast food restaurant known for its coffee and donuts. It is Canada's largest quick service restaurant chain. However, 6 restaurants are only present in Quebec City, as well as since Restaurant Brands International took control of Tim Hortons operations, they've slowing sales growth at 0.1% in currently 2018, and they have an overall declining market share. RBI raised prices, and store owners had to cut paid breaks and benefits. We believe this creates an opportunity correlated with the rise of good sales for Paris Baguette to enter the market and really penetrate this area. And then finally, Canadian grocery store trends. While grocery store trends across the country have shown reduced sales, each Quebec household still travels to the grocery store 171 times per year. 95% of those sales are still result from physical storefronts. And then finally, 65% of grocery shoppers visit the bakery or purchase bread on every single trip. So the viability of our solution shows that there's still a market and still potential revenue to be made with our project. And so to reiterate, our solution is to implement a distribution center and production center in the Quebec City area to distribute to restaurants and in-store grocery market kiosks to sell bread and capitalize on French heritage. In the appendix, we have financial resources if you have any questions. Thank you.